Okay.
Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader here with you, the Nader Narrative, back with you tonight. We are highlighting candidates running for this November 2nd election. Tonight is no different. I am pleased to bring you Adam Kraemer running in District 27 for State Senate. Adam, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to getting to know you better, as is the audience. And that's the point of these interviews, Adam. We want people to understand the people behind the ballot, the people that are running to serve our state. So let's start with your background. I want everyone to know what your history is, where your experience has been, and what has brought you to this point.
I'm a lifelong Jerseyan. In fact, fifth generation to live Newark/Essex County. I grew up mostly in Maplewood, South Orange, graduated Columbia High School, went to Colgate University. Then I decided to give teaching a shot. Got an MA and an MED at Teachers College, Columbia University. Taught at an independent school, Newark Boys Chorus, for 4 years. Then I taught at Livingston High School for a year. That did not work out, budget cuts and stuff. Yeah. So had to try something new. Went into credit management, been a couple jobs there. And now I've been for 7 years at Interplast, which is in Livingston, part of Formosa Plastics, or affiliated with Formosa Plastics. And I'm in the credit department there. Father of triplets, and that are 18, and married to a wonderful woman, Ruth, for the last 24 plus years.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So now, as we were discussing before we went live, you're an empty nester. Good time to run for office, Adam. But really, what is driving you now? Why now? Why this run?
I've always been interested in politics. My mother was involved in politics of blessed memory. I started out as a liberal Democrat, and I've evolved. Mostly because of my wife, this wonderful person who got her education from the Israeli Defense Force as opposed to the Ivy League, which gives you a different perspective.
Big difference.
And I've come to realize that government, though filled with good intentions and well-intentioned people, has gotten really big and has, instead of being the friend and the supporter of the people, has become the adversary of the people.
Yeah.
And I'm running actually not to make laws so much as reduce laws and simplify things and make New Jersey more affordable, less regulated, and more free and more independent. And that's the main reason why I'm running against Dick Cody, despite the fact that he's been there for almost 5 decades and is a political legend. Yeah. It's going to be a tough race, but it shouldn't be a coronation. It should be something where people look at the issues and make decisions based on who has the ideas and the talent to best represent them in the state legislature.
Yeah, it should not be a coronation. It feels like one right now, even with our governor. But you're in District 27, as you say, Governor Cody, previous governor, as well as serving senator for a very long time. And at this point, this district, I believe, has been blue since the early 70s.
I think even going back to the 60s.
Maybe even the 60s. Feels like a daunting task. But as you look at that district and you start talking to people and door knocking, and I'm sure you've been doing a lot of that, what are you hearing from the constituents of 27? What are they concerned about?
Well, primarily, it's very, very expensive to live. I mean, not too long ago, I went to my 35th high school reunion for Columbia High School, which is in the district, Maplewood, South Orange. And the number of people who live around here is not a high percentage of the class. And I talk to these people who are in the Carolinas or South Jersey or Florida or Texas. And they all say, we love growing up here, but it's just too expensive. We can't live here. And I live in West Orange, and whether it's West Orange or it's Florham Park or it's Madison or it's Maplewood, South Orange, many people my age, and I'm in my mid 50s, are saying, I'm not going to be able to retire here. I can't live here in retirement. And many people I know who have their kids now getting to a point where they're starting to family. They can't afford to move here and raise their families here. I mean, in West Orange, the tax rate is about 4.3% of the assessed value of your house. So West Orange is probably the worst of the taxed towns in my in my district.
Right.
Average income for a family of four is maybe 120. You're shelling out, if you live in an average home, close to $15,000 in taxes. Your mortgage is principal and interest is almost certainly less than your taxes. And even Short Hills, you're paying in Millburn, which is in my district, the most highest tax bill by gross number. They're like 24,000, but the difference is that town, the houses are over $1 million, so they're paying almost 2%. But 2% on a house of over $1 million, that's a lot. And what are we getting for that? That's the big question.
Good question. How did this get so out of whack? It's a runaway train, and it is really number one issue next to some freedom issues, which we'll talk about, but we hear over and over again. How did we get to this point where we can't barely afford to live here? And it doesn't seem, Adam, as though that's going down anytime soon.
Well, just before I was born in 1966, New Jersey had no income tax, no gambling in Atlantic City, and no sales tax. When Dick Cody first ran for the state assembly in 1973, New Jersey had no income tax. Basically, historically New Jersey told their towns, county school boards, do your own thing, figure it out, and we're going to very loosely run the states. Civics lesson: all towns, all school boards, all counties are chartered by the state to operate governmental services in a defined geographic area.
Right. And
the states historically gave lots of power to the county, the towns, school boards to do their own things. Gradually, in the last 50 or so years, they've started really regulating what the towns, the counties, and the school boards do. So if you talk to any of your school board members, municipal council members, county commissioners, county executives, mayors, they'll tell you that to do anything, they have to run it through Trenton and a whole host of rules and regulations. And that drives the cost of everything.
That's right.
And they siphon a lot of money from the suburbs and pump it into the urban areas. Now, I understand the logic of that. There's not a tax base to provide educational services in places like Irving and Newark as much as there is in, say, Madison or Chatham or Millburn. But the problem is that money has been going in and it hasn't resulted in better education.
No, not at all.
Accountability. So so the way you solve that is when local school boards can't provide a quality education at a reasonable choice, you give parents choice. You give them a voucher. You say, you can figure it out. And as an educator, I really believe in choice. Even in school districts that really work well, like Livingston and Millburn and Chatham and Madison, not every kid is really going to do well at a large comprehensive high school.
Right.
And I, as an educator and as a parent, have seen lots of different ways that education works. There are some children who, when I was a teacher, I could see on Monday morning and say, here's your assignments, here's your work, there's the library. Come by my office on Friday and we'll have milk and cookies and we'll see what you learned and talked about it. And they would have thrived. Right. There were other students who I literally had to have stacks of, I'm old enough to call them dittos instead of photocopies, on their desk, stand behind them and say, and basically drill and kill to keep them focused, because that's who they are. Right. Some students may need the discipline of a military academy. Right. Others may need just basic explore as much as you want with limited guidance from the teachers. And parents know their kids. know what works for them. We should be giving parents the resources to choose rather than having a one set size fits all model that's very expensive, very unionized, very bureaucratized, micromanaged from Trenton.
Yeah.
And it's not working. And education is where most of your tax dollars go. In this state, if you take all of state and local spending, more than half of it goes to the schools. The state and local spending spends more on schools than roads, prisons, law enforcement, firefighting, healthcare, welfare, environment, parks combined.
Wow. Wow. Well, I hear you saying a lot of great things in there. I hear you talking about, the problem of big government. I hear you talking about the great idea of school choice and how that can change things. And I also hear you talking about parents making decisions for their children, parents being in control. I think that's a theme overall. You've seen, Adam, in the last few months, the parents showing up at Board of Education and saying, it's not okay, these decisions you're making, whether it's curriculum, the mass decision, whatever it is that they're weighing in on. I think we have seen, I wonder if you agree, over the past 18 months, 2 years, especially a further eroding of parents' rights when it comes to making decisions for their children. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that the unions and the bureaucracy don't get it.
Yeah.
My kids just graduated high school. I sent them to the JEC in Elizabeth and Bruyere. It's a Jewish day school. Hundreds of kids. They figured out how to keep it open for in-person learning.
Wow.
My public schools, which spend more per pupil, in West Orange, it's about $26,000 or $27,000 a year per student. They couldn't figure out how to get it open for a year and 3 months. JEC, they got it open in August 31st, 2000. They only had to do a homeschooling for about 3 months. Why? Because the rabbis knew that if they didn't deliver an educational service to the parents would stop paying tuition.
Right.
And the parents demanded that they be in person.
Yep.
That didn't happen because the power went from the parents to a bunch of bureaucrats and a bunch of union officials. And that's bureaucrats and letting bureaucrats and union officials raise and educate your school. Big mistake.
Big mistake. Yeah, big mistake. And we're seeing that coming from Trenton, even with the curriculum changes that they're putting in place. And parents are upset. I mean, the good news is, Adam, is that parents are upset and they're getting involved. And this is something encouraging, right? And we have people like you who you've been through watching, your 3 daughters get educated.
Actually, it's a son and two daughters.
Oh, wow. Okay. Triplets, a son and 2 daughters. Man, that's a busy family. Watching them get educated and making the choices that you could make for them. And not everyone can do that. And I think it's interesting that somehow these schools who figured out how to stay open, yet the public schools perpetually closed and really just serving the needs of the union, not the needs even of the teachers or of the students. So this is obviously a big issue for you. I wonder where you weigh in as well in other freedoms as we look at the past 18 months, especially as Murphy has really been in control of everything. How do you feel about civil liberties and the tightening of freedoms in the state and choices, even as it relates to medical freedom?
Look, as we've discussed, personally, I'm a big believer that this vaccine is a good thing. I've taken it. My whole family's taken it. I think the vast bulk of the people, it's a very wise thing to do. But I really don't think the government should be in the business of mandating unless they absolutely have to. I mean, they can mandate things like you can't walk down the street with a machete lopping people's heads off. That they could absolutely mandate.
Right.
But they can't mandate that you have to have an injection. Nor should they. Yeah. They can encourage it. They can provide resources. They can provide guidance. And also, I think that Trenton making all the rules is a mistake. Mm-hmm. The COVID is vaccine can be a very local phenomenon. Why are they? What's going? New Jersey's a very diverse state. What's going on with COVID in Sussex County and Cape May may not be the same as Newark, or
Right.
may not be the same as Trenton, or may
Right.
not be the same as Camden, or may not be the same as Millburn, or may not be the same as Florham Park. I don't think a one-size-fits-all solution from Trenton makes sense. We have school boards, we have superintendents. They should be empowered to make decisions that fit the needs of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the themes I'm hearing from you. You mentioned before we went live that you see yourself even more as a libertarian. You really don't want government involved in all of these decisions. Is that true?
I think government should provide law and order. I think government should provide basic infrastructure, and then cease and empower people to run their lives. And the government has to trust that people can take care of themselves and make decisions.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree with each individual's decisions, they should be empowered to run their lives and their business and their families as they choose.
Yep. Personal responsibility. Somehow we lost that in the mix, and government doesn't trust us and thinks they need to tell us what we need to do. I love what you're saying, Adam. Your platform is great. I do think what you say is true. People are ready for change. And in your district particularly, it's been the same old for so very long. So those wishing for change, how do they get involved? How do they help you? Where can they get more information to? Donate, door knock, whatever they can do.
Well, first of all, I'm, believe it or not, running an absolute zero budget campaign.
Wow.
I do not want, if I was going to spend money, it would be peanuts. I don't want, if I can somehow pull this off, which I really think I possibly can, I want to get in there and be able to say, I don't know any group, any special interest, anything. Here's my campaign finance form that says zero to prove it.
Yeah.
And I can make decisions directly for the people. You can contact me on my Facebook page, Adam for Senate. You can email me. Best email is adampkr@aol.com. You can call me. I'll even give my cell phone number, 973-818-6356. You can walk door to door with me. You can stand at the railroad station while I shake hands with commuters, or, this being COVID, give them an elbow bump. That's how I'm going to do it. And it's going to be the ultimate grassroots campaign.
Absolutely. Door to door, person by person, making sure they get to know who you are. Well, we want to use this video as part of your grassroots campaign so people can understand who you are and what you stand for, Adam. And you would be a breath of fresh air in that district. So we wish you the best and encourage anyone listening to this to reach out to you. Door knocking is incredibly effective, but it would be helpful to have more people do it with you. So I want to thank you so much, Adam, for coming on, and appreciate you. Appreciate anybody who decides to run this year and every year, because we need people like you who are dedicated to making it a better place to live in New Jersey. So I wish you the best.
And thank you so much. This is a wonderful format, and I really appreciate what you do.
Absolutely, Adam. Best to you, and to everyone listening. Reach out to Adam, see how you can help. Anyone you know in District 27, let them know about Adam. So guys, we will see you next week. Thank you again, Adam, and everybody have a great night.